Losing my job in my 50s, the pain, the fear, and what I'm doing about it now. I never thought I would have been in the situation of being in my 50s with no job, no income, and depleted of all confidence. But that's exactly how I found myself not too long ago. Today, I want to share with you what it's really like when you lose your job in your later life. The emotions, the finances, the shame, the pressure from your family, and most importantly, what can you do next if you're going through this too? Because if this is happening to you, you're not alone. Hi, I'm Anton, and welcome to my channel. Let's talk about life, where I share stories about my life, discuss marriage, kids, money matters, being made redundant, losing loved ones, addiction, depression, and so much more. So it all started for me last year when that unexpected phone call just took the wind out of my sails. I've always been really confident in my ability as a salesperson. It's been my life for the past 28 years. And I know that the value I bring to the companies I've worked for over the years, it's been of a really high standard. And I've always hit targets, managed successful sales teams, and I've been such an integral part of every company I've been in. So when I get told by the new sales director that my services were no longer required, it just felt like the whole world had collapsed. Did my ability to outsell most of the other sales reps in the company dry up? Was I too old? Was my ability to work well with others finished? Or, worse of all, was I untrainable? All of these questions circled around my head immediately after hearing that I no longer had a job. We're laying others off. It's not just you. We're restructuring the company. To be honest, they could have told me anything at that moment. I wouldn't have heard any of it. You know, the shock of realizing that after years of service and loyalty, it didn't protect me. It didn't mean a thing to them. You know, and after working 28 years of building my brand, my reputation, and sacrificing hours on the road, it was just all gone in one conversation. It was that like disbelief, like I just couldn't believe it was happening to me. And then rejection, like nobody likes to be rejected. And then what happens? The anger that sets in because you just feel so betrayed. And I started to question my self-worth. Was I any good anymore? You know, had I lost my touch? In your 50s, you just don't really expect to be job hunting again. You think, wasn't this supposed to be like the safe stage of my career? You know, where I'd done all the job hunting and I was now just, you know, cruising into retirement. I'll be honest, it hits you in waves. Like the first is fear. How do I pay the bills? How can I find work again? Who is going to hire somebody my age? I didn't even know where my CV was. Then the embarrassment hits in, the telling the friends, the neighbors, the family. I mean, you can make things up, say that you were getting bored or you just wanted a new challenge, but the people that really know you, they can just see straight through those lies. They know. I just felt so shameful as well because I felt as though I'd failed being a provider of the family and I'd sort of lost my identity. You know, who am I now without a job title? I became like anxious. The sort of constant weight of uncertainty was just hanging over me all the time. It just feels so heavy. And that's why I believe places like YouTube are just such a great thing where you can just jump on and you can get so much help and inspiration from others like me who have sort of seen it, done it, and come through the other side. Like loneliness was another thing. You know, many of my friends couldn't really relate to my situation because obviously they were still employed. The phone calls from the company staff started to dry up after a couple of weeks. And then the realization that you're sort of on your own. I became angry, became really bitter towards the company. That was the other thing that set in. The managers, the systems, how dare they? Who do they think they are to get rid of somebody like me? I am sick to the back teeth of them. I'm done with them. And you start lashing out. I started to compare myself with others. I was scrolling on sites like LinkedIn, seeing other people getting promoted and doing really well for themselves. And then that loss of regular income after that final payment was made. It's then when it really does hit home. Telling the family that I don't think we should go on that extravagant holiday that we first planned for. And look, 5-star hotels. I mean, they are quite overrated. I think this year we should do something completely different, like go camping. Didn't work. Impact on savings and my retirement funds I started to look at more closely, started to look at the monthly bills, started to look at the cars on the driveway, and then the conversation about eBay, Facebook, marketplace, and vintage starts creeping into conversations over dinner. The fear of dipping into my pensions and investments early. That was another thing that was inevitably comes into play. And all those great interest rates that were locked in, but they're all going to have to go now because you're going to have to take money out because you're in survival mode. You start looking at extremes like downsizing. What expenses do we need to start cutting out? Should we start cancelling holidays? It's not good, but it's inevitable and it will happen. You start postponing those purchases that you talked about, new kitchen, new bathrooms, all that sort of stuff. And that inevitably then plays a part with your partner and your kids. They start getting anxious and stressed as well. You start to see the difference between what you want and what you need very quickly. And every purchase sort of becomes a calculation in your head. And this is where it really impacts the family and your marriage. The guilt of not providing. You're the breadwinner, right? Especially if you're male. Pressure to keep things normal. Some couples grow stronger, but some sadly fall apart. The arguments start building up and they're getting louder and more destructive. Blame starts to creep in here. It's so important as a couple to have that united front. We can get through this together. So drop the blame game because it will kill your relationships. And if you do have children, shielding them from this worry is definitely recommended. They will sometimes have those mixed feelings of they were proud of your career, but also really scared of your struggles. So don't tell them everything. Your social life then obviously is impacted because you start getting a bit depressed. You start avoiding gatherings. You're a bit embarrassed to talk about it because the last thing you want to do is go somewhere and go, oh, yeah, hi, nice to meet you. My name's Anton. Oh, by the way, I'm unemployed. Friends may not know all the details, so you start avoiding them entirely. The silence can be just as painful as the actual job loss itself. But at some point, you have to make that shift or you're just going to get stuck in depression forever because it will creep in. It always does. And it's slow sinking into that black hole and it will just be even harder to get out to find another job. So always just be aware. I used to think that my job was my identity. It was part of my life. But now I'm less valuable because I've lost my job. That's all the feelings you're going to have. Many successful people have to rebuild their life. And that's the inspiration that you need. So you need to accept that you cannot control certain things. You can't control the job market to a certain extent. You can't control the economy. And you can't control how old you are. You are the age that you are. but you focus on what you can control. You can control your health. You can control your mind and your thoughts, your positive thoughts, your daily routines. You know, like learning new skills will come into play where you can then start venturing into things that you maybe a little bit more passionate about but didn't have time before. Go to networking events, do research online, contact friends or old work colleagues that you've maybe lost touch with. You know, you need to use your experience. 20, 30 years of life and work experience has a massive value. You are great at what you do, and there is someone somewhere who needs you right now. I mean, I started to look into consulting, coaching, you know, looking at side hustles like YouTube. So many people I've watched videos on recently that started their new adventure in building a channel for on YouTube and getting paid for it after they got made redundant. Never have we been in a time of our lives where so many opportunities are available for people right now. There's so many jobs you can do, especially online. There's freelancing work, there's part-time work. I mean, you can go onto Fiverr, Amazon, Upwork. There's loads of platforms you can look into and doing work for them. You can do teaching or mentoring. It's not about starting over. It's about repackaging your value. So you're probably wondering, what is he doing right now? Well, I went through all that and I came out the other side. And I've now started to learn new tools, started to look at things like YouTube, creating this channel, which has just started. I can't tell you how blessed I feel to have the ability to start this new adventure. It's so exciting. I love doing these YouTube videos. And if I can get paid for it at some point, even better. But what actually happened to me? Well, after a few weeks, I did reach out to a couple of old friends. And within a few weeks, I was back at another company selling for them. Now, my line of work is actually quite seasonal. So I'm now investing in myself, learning new skills. So I'll never, ever, ever let myself be in that position where I was totally vulnerable. And I don't want to be unemployed and I don't want to not have an income. I still network constantly and giving advice of what I went through. And if anyone is in that position, then please reach out. I'd love to help you. I'm also looking at maybe creating my own online course. That's another thing that I'm looking into, you know, helping others navigate their job loss. So there's like writing, teaching, mentoring, using my skills and ability and experiences to help others. And the other thing that I did straight away, I recognized, because I didn't want to go into that dark hole of depression because I've been there once and I don't ever want to go back. So I now do a lot of meditation. I do a lot of journaling. I write loads of things down. I have these daily little routines. I keep myself really healthy. I go to the gym 3 times a week. I stay connected with all my friends, my really close friends. I'm always constantly talking to them. Every day isn't perfect, but doing these small things every day just keeps the momentum alive. So if you're watching this, thanks so much for staying to the end. And if you've lost your job, I want to hear from you because you still have worth, you still have value. You may not have chosen this chapter in your life, but you do get to choose how you respond to it. And you've got to keep moving forward slowly, consistently, baby steps to find your next purpose. So if you have any stories, I'd love to hear them. Put in a comment below. And yeah, I really, really wish you all the best. I will be making future videos on this topic and other videos as well. But if you want to like and subscribe to this channel, that would be absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. I love to connect with people. And If you want to check out any of my other videos, here's a couple here that you might like. So take care, God bless, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.